Hi, welcome. On this video, we're going to be doing another breakdown series. And once again, by way, again, Kevin Murdoch, his method, again, those seeking, again, answers, again, talk about a intentional interaction based method that reconciles, okay, the core ingredients by way of changing perceptions of dogs the right way. Now, here, when we talk about changing perceptions of dogs, okay, I brought it to this. I stopped the video here um, at the almost a point where this session is basically ending. Okay, so this is 23 minutes into Murdaugh's approach by way again, and you'll see as we go through this, you'll see a lot of this, blocking dogs, making noise, his whole kind of stomping his feet approach to correct the dog. But here, okay, after all of that, okay, you see what's happening right here with this dog, pulling, grabbing a hold of the owner, okay, expressing control. It's like, I own you, okay? And when you watch my method, this never happens, okay, because it's about the right conversation. This is where I talk about the leash, okay? How to start to change the perception of dogs, a power play, okay, dynamic that's happening. But here you see this whole kind of standoffish. You're gonna see this through this video, how this dog is able to stay outside the range, okay, of that type of conversation I talk about. Okay, this type of kind of knees touching, just like the parent-child conversation, having a a personal, direct conversation versus standing, 15, 20 feet away. There's a difference. Okay, there's a difference in terms of your role, in terms of relationship, in terms again of it being meaningful. Okay, meaningful to the dog. And so again, this video series that we put out here, it's a perfect example of kind of like what not to do. Okay, this is about when people have questions about this type of a approach. You want to be interacting in a way that is represents having the right conversation. When I talk about conversation, it's not about verbal conversation. It's about the dog understanding intent. Okay, through interactions that make sense to the dog, that express intentional control and influence and change the dog's perceptions by way of intercepting, okay, a dog's these expressed states. So here I'm going to back this up, okay, but this is the image I kind of want to leave you with, okay. Just consider this is, almost at the end of this session, and this dog is putting out control this way, okay. So major problem. So we're going to back this up here, go through this. So this is part one. This will be part one of this series.
Video discussing how I use the e-collar as a way to build respect between a dog and its owner.
So here you hear Murdoch talk about in now starting to work off of like the e-call. And again, that's what I talk about again, problems, okay? By way of how everything branches off of, okay, a method that makes sense to the dog. Okay, this is where I talk about those core ingredients being reconciled through a intentional interaction based method that brings you into the picture, okay, that brings you in a way in which then when you use, okay, say a device like an e-collar, okay, it's going to align properly, it's going to make sense. But this is where again, when you get in this thing about e-collar, why dogs will blow off the collar, or they will appear to to listen, but no change is really happening. Okay, it's like stalled out. Okay, understand this, or the dog becomes more stressed. So again, understand that, everything starts with the right foundation. Okay. Through the right foundation, the foundation I'm talking about again is the right conversation. Okay. Through a intentional interaction based method. Okay. Therefore everything, aligns through that. Whether it's a device that you're using, that's why I talk about crates being part of the relationship. Crates represent control. So you see dogs that don't like the crate, are very pushy, even though you're using an e-collar, you may be doing certain things like, motivating the dog to respond, but the crate will really kind of, put the picture to the test because the crate is about, intentional control. See, and so when a dog gets very disagreeable to the crate, you'll start to see indicators that, okay, this isn't lining up. And the problem here is, again, you can have a dog that can look pretty good. okay, from appearances and not be. Okay, so again, understand when you talk about you bring an e-collar in, it should come into a process that makes sense to the dog. Okay, because it's an extension of the relationship. Okay, it's an extension of you.
And Enso, dogs like Enso are a little bit more difficult sometimes because they're younger, and if they're empowered in the home environment and there's a lack of respect there, they tend to not really give a fuck about anything.
So here's talking about, so here, understand. So when you see, again, individual trainers like Murdoch, other trainers, a lot of them, okay, they walk into the home environment, okay, and, the dog is off leash. Okay, the dog is starting to just moving, floating around, moving around. And so this is where I talk about the leash as, okay, as a connection point, okay, to align, okay, controlled influence in a way that is going to reveal. Okay, so it's going to reveal through the integrity of, and again, I'm specific about that type of conversation. So I talk about specific interactions. You'll see, if you watch my videos, you'll see how I'm very intentional with how I'm moving with the leash, how I'm expressing control through the leash, how I'm bringing the dog into agreement with certain interactions. Okay. But really, it gives you the litmus test. Okay. It's going to reveal in real time, it's going to give you the right information. So, how agreeable or disagreeable, okay, by way of the leash, with again, dog understanding intent. Okay. Certain things have to line up. Okay. Otherwise, again, because here's the thing, you can use the leash the wrong way. And again, you see Murdoch, I talk about that. Murdoch does not use the leash the right way at all, and you have a certain picture that's not the right picture anyway. Okay, it's not going to give you a true the right information. A true picture is to where how you're perceived in the relationship and change as well. So understand it has to line up. Understand the method matters. So how you're moving, okay, how you're bringing the dog under control. I talk about a certain level of control through what I call a baseline. Okay, those are things that you have to they all have to come in to get a right picture of how the dog's perceptions, how they currently are, how the dog sees you. So here you see this dog just floating
The
around.
owner does in terms of how they push back against what they're doing. So you see over the course of this session, Enso is actually really responsive to what I'm doing, but actually at the end of
You pay attention too. So here's the thing. So when someone enters too, and again, you can put everything I say to the test, okay? You'll see it. So when a dog to that level of connection, okay, to the emotion, you'll see a dog that has a lot of control issues. Okay, they'll attach to, it's like it's like a nuclear, power station. Okay, they will attach themselves to the person that they get more control through the relationship, through emotion. Okay, I understand it's a big deal, and it's not good. Okay, so if you enter in, you'll see the dog go into their because they're trying to achieve comfort. Okay, they're trying to maintain a level of that control, and you'll see the dog avoid certain people, attach themselves to other people, and even lean in. Start to lean in because it's like they're trying to counterbalance. Okay, they sense and they know what's taking place, so they'll try to reconnect and connect with that gives them control. It's like a supply source. It's like a narcissist. It's like primary, secondary supply. If you pay attention, you'll see dog go if another dog's the primary supply, that dog will try to go and attach to the other dog. Especially as a trainer, you're entering into a situation where leadership control is starting to happen. You'll see them attached to the owner. Okay. And they'll, if that contrast is there too, if you're going from the owner that's really emotional, and then you as a trainer take the leash and you start to a certain level of control, that dog will flash over. That dog, you could get bitten really fast. So understand that, when I'm doing this, okay, and this is how it needs to go down, is I will focus on, the primary supply source. I will focus on that owner that has that type of connection, but the leash is going to be active. Okay, so I'm manipulating control. Okay, so it's going to keep things kind of lower down, but I will attach the leash because you have to bring it into. You have to bring those core ingredients. You have to make them active in a very specific way. Okay, that conversation, that type of power play needs to be happening at that level. Okay, through the leash. Here you'll see the dog just floating around and having the decision making, the free will. Okay, to be able to engage certain ways or disengage or be standoffish. And you'll see, and here's the problem is you see the responses and you'll see how Murdoch's trying to package this up as a good thing, and it's not good. Okay. Therefore, again, that's why at the end here you see that dog, biting into the clothing of the owner, right? Saying, I own you. Okay. That's how
Over
this
the
is going down.
session, what you didn't see is Enzo started to get rowdy with me, and even though he previously was listening, he entered that mindset of just like, yeah, I'm starting to figure you out, and now I just don't care anymore. So I had to try to troubleshoot with them after I left their house, and we tried a bunch of different things out, but nothing was really getting the point across to Enzo.
See, because it's not specific. See, understand the good news about, say, this system of training. Okay, there's a sequence. Okay, it's specific. It's understanding. Okay, this happens first, and then you go from there. It's like, but you get tied in. I talk about leashes, how they're used. They are a means to an end, but they're an extension of the relationship. Right here, you have this kind of a speed wobble, all over the place approach, and operating off of, again, appearances.
And the difficult part with this was the owner was having a very hard time asserting herself to him. That's the gap we had to bridge. So this led Enzo to actually stay with me for a couple of days. I wanted to see how different he would be.
The same thing here. So Murdoch's whole thing is, I talk about this dog on dog type of thing. Okay, it's a problem. Okay, appearance based, because it's about the dog. Will establish control over other dogs. Another dog will submit and they'll look balanced. Right. This has to be tied into the human, the owner. The way I talk about. Murdoch doesn't do that.
In my environment versus his home environment, and he actually did really, really well staying with me. There were only
That doesn't look well.
a
Okay.
couple of times he'd try to get rowdy with me, but he actually listened to me when I
So he's talking about listening to him. See, and here's the, again, cautionary tale. What does that? What does that look like? Are question Are the core ingredients tied in a way that's going to truly reveal the truth? No. Okay, so you get these type of, because I talk about this whole fight or flight thing where a dog, is off leash and still has the choice, right? And then you can say, oh, that looks pretty good. The dog moved that way or responded this way. But when it's tied in the leash, then it truly reveals, okay? Because it's that in close and personal conversation. There's no way out, okay? And it's a reasonable task because you're not doing anything over the top, but it ties in, okay? It aligns properly. Through this methodology, it doesn't do that.
asserted myself to him, and then we didn't have any problems anymore. So then it was a matter of transferring that
So you get the bite glove on here too, right? Because understand his whole thing is mostly just dogs off leash. No, that's a bad deal.
to the home environment once I had figured out, okay, what worked with me. But it was the same situation once again where he just didn't care at home, and Carla had a hard time actually doing.
See, if you're using a leash properly, you don't have to wear that glove, okay? I mean, you don't have to, because it's leash skill, okay? It's the leash method, okay, to be able to redirect levels of challenge, okay, be able to properly engage the dog. And it's gonna, what it does, it lowers that level of challenge. It brings it, the dog's gonna come into agreement with it. The dog's gonna see you the right way because you're engaging the right conversation. Here, that's not the thing. So you're always the dog bouncing around and expressing control. And it's like you're trying to do what exactly? You're trying to create certain moments, but it's influence and control are not reconciled.
Doing the thing that I was doing to get Enzo to listen. So this is why I utilized the e-collar as a last resort. It was just a means, a way to
So he's saying, okay, the e-collar as a last resort. Well, it shouldn't be a last resort. The right method should be the first resort, and the e-collar will line up. And see, he's just trying to bring tools in, to try to do something.
make their no strong and a way to communicate to Enzo when he does begin to kind of attack them or go after them that this isn't going to be tolerated. And
Just dog is spinning around. It's because here's the thing. It's like, yes, leash first, okay? We see my method is there's a lot of in close and personal leash interactions happening because that's the conversation that's going to get you to where you want to go. Murdoch's method and other trainers, that's not their go-to, right? This whole thing is about, this whole picture. It doesn't bring those core ingredients in, doesn't reconcile them.
he needed a bit of a reality check. And the e-collar was a way that we were finally able to get that achieved. So sometimes with these younger teenage dogs, especially
because here too, and I talk about this about his leash method. It's like he tries to, even when he puts a dog on a leash, he tries to. There's no kind of baseline talk about. There's no intentional control to reveal. Right? It's not consistent. It's not the integrity isn't there as to how I do it. Okay, for a reason. And so, but what these trainers will do is like they're scared of the lead, like they're not dialed in anyway. And so they try to get that loose leash going as quickly as possible. They'll go slack on it right away and stuff. And that gives you a false sense of a good picture. Understand that's again that cautionary tale. You do not want to do it that way. Okay. Understand that this is what they do. Okay.
Especially if there are things that weren't done when they were younger, say as 3, 4 month, 5 month old
Yeah.
mark, and they get
See, it's just this, it's this thing. It's this thing about I just want this dog. I just want to get to the loose leash. That's it. I just want to put the minimum amount I can on this dog. See, and that's the problem. It's not about putting the maximum either. Okay. Understand? People will take it to the street. When I talk certain ways, see, because understand their filter, they're looking at everything through a certain lens because it's not their foundation. Okay. There's a reason for everything. Okay. Understand that every movement has meaning, but the integrity has to be there. That's why I talk about when he's moves, when certain trainers are moving, they're moving too fast. Dog's mind is jumping. Okay, you could have an appearance level. You have a dog that look a certain way, but don't be fooled. I tell you, don't be fooled. That's why people get blindsided, and then because the truth is going to be there, you'll see it because these dogs don't get fixed. Okay, and the people buy into this picture, but it's out of sync. Okay, it's not synced in the right way at all.
older, they're going to think certain things are acceptable. And I think that's really what happened in this case is they had told me that when he was a very young puppy, he would mouth them and
Got that bite glove going.
kind of play intensely with them.
That's a sign you don't trust the dog. I mean, I'd rather have a muzzle on this dog. Okay. I'd rather have a muzzle on this dog with the right method. Okay. And then the muzzle goes away. So here is this whole thing of, watch out, right? It's just like, no.
But they didn't really let him know that they didn't like it. And so I think that
And he should be petting on his dog anyway. Okay. I mean, that's the other thing. I'm looking at the glove and I'm thinking, what's he doing? Like, you shouldn't be petting on a dog that has this level of control. Like, if you're so scared of this dog, you get a glove on, you shouldn't be petting it because that's control. Okay. That's feeding into the problem, that emotional type of thing. See, that's a sign that the trainer doesn't know what they're doing. Okay. It's not, because here's the other problem. When I see something like this, because really think about what I'm saying. Do you think that this isn't going down everywhere else? Do you not think that this is not their kind of idea of things about the introducing, bringing petting or certain levels of this type of connection into a process? Because it needs to be, see, it's about clarity, right? So we're creatures of habit, but not just creatures of habit. It's like it's like your parenting style. Either it's set or it's not. Certain themes are established or they're not. It's like if you watch someone walking down the street with a long line, a 20-foot long line with a dog, those retractable leashes, and the dog is like way out in front of them, that's a problem. But do you think that they just do that there or that's their thinking process there? No, it's throughout. You are how you think. Understand that. You are how you think. When you change how you think, it changes everything. But when you look at how people, when people do certain things, it's gonna be throughout everything. Okay. It has to be intentional.
this led Enzo to believe as he got older that, hey, I could just treat you like this and it's acceptable. You're not going to care about it. Whereas, say, if he were with another dog or his mother,
Oh, there's Grey
and he
Goose
were to
walking.
bite them aggressively or play very intensely, they would probably let him know that that wasn't going to fly. So this is another one of those cases where sometimes something might work initially, but then after just a little bit of time, it is no longer effective, and you've got to troubleshoot. You've got
Same thing. It's just this type of little nudge in or just trying to do the minimum possible. It's about the superficial picture. So I stop part one here. I mean, hopefully this might be my last series, okay, on using Murdaugh's videos. But I attended that before, then I saw this thing pop up. It was like I couldn't help myself. I said, okay, maybe this will be the last one. But understand, I go through videos. I use some trainers' videos. I'll use them as a framework because you can apply this to anything. Okay, you can take what I say through these videos and you can put it in what is balance training, force free training, this quasi Caesar Milan approach, play based. all of it. Okay, you can incorporate what I say into it to assess, right? Because it comes down to how those core ingredients are they reconciled. And it's no. And here's the thing: it's like when I talk about reconcile, there's only one way to reconcile them. Okay, it's through a intentional interaction based method. It's got to line up. It's specific. So, again, stay tuned for part two. I'll be posting that soon.